So the ladder product strategy framework. So this also is one of the way by which we can define a product strategy and how we can visualize and communicate the strategy to all. So this strategy, or as we call it as a ladder product strategy framework, basically helps her to get the alignment of features to the overall vision for the product. So if you see this across, it all start with a vision. So from vision, we can have product. So from product vision, we can have product strategy. From product strategy, we can have, say, product objectives, and then themes, and then outcomes, initiatives, and the features. So it helps us to move from top down. So this is also being presented as another example of how organization basically try to create a product strategy, and that helps everyone to understand the connection between a product vision and its overall features. So this is one of the instance which is a critical and which can help us to be aligned from the product vision to the overall feature. So let's try to see, if you talk about the product vision, it's all about everything you do should be able to contribute to the overall achievement, right? So your product, what you want to do, why you want to do, all those things are aligned and attributed to the product vision. Product objective, it basically highlights of what is being done and what would be achieved for the overall stakeholders. And if you see the overall themes, it's a fundamental logical categories for the work you will be doing that aligns one and more objectives. So your objectives get further uh, segregated into themes, and then themes, get 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 into the outcomes. So outcomes basically are the kind of values which you plan to create, which you will be delivering through your product, and what are the kind of problems you are going to solve through your product. That's the outcome which we are referring to as a part of the product. So from the outcomes, the kind of initiatives get drived up, and these initiatives we can always list down them in form of the epics, and these epics can be further broken down into features in form of the product features, and then the user stories, and you can always divide the user stories further into the task, right? So this is the overall product or ladder product strategy framework, which helps basically align the product features to the overall vision. So now it all drives from the top, from the perspective of product vision, and then how the alignment of features can happen based on that product vision, objective, themes, outcomes, initiatives, and overall features. So now, communicating the overall product strategy. So when you are trying to create, or when you are trying to communicate a product strategy, once the product strategy has been created, it definitely, and it must be communicated to all the appropriate stakeholders. So if you see one of the article written in a Harvard Business Review, Georgia Evers basically recommend using thinking in terms of the framework to inspire, educate, and reinforce the product strategy on an annual basis. So, subsequently, in her article, she recommends communicating more frequently, such as quarterly, right? So, you can always start first with annual, and then you can communicate your strategy, on a more frequent basis, which can be quarterly. So the premise is that the strategies are meant to inspire the people, so that they can strive to achieve them, and they need to educate people in terms of where the product is headed and why it is going to go in that direction. And it also meant for reinforcing the message behind the strategy, right? So what are we going to achieve? Why are we going to achieve? So that's the kind of reinforcement which is put across as a part of the overall strategy. So obviously keep it simple but meaningful. So whenever you are having a strategy, you should keep it very simple and meaningful. So simple is always good for clarity, but people must be able to connect with it, right? So there has to be emotional connect between your strategy and people as well, right? So we should avoid the usual corporate speak. We need to be very realistic and authentic when we are talking about the product strategy, because there's a difference between a corporate strategy and a product strategy. We need to make it visible and we need to be make it visual as well, right? So your product strategy has to be visible and visual. You have to keep it in a front of people, including the product backlog, post it in a place or work area where every team member in the Scrum team should be able to see it as well, right? So remember that the old, the old adage that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So look for ways to incorporate pictures or metaphor, right? So whenever you are trying to make a strategy, ensure that you depict it pictorially rather than make it more into words. So ensuring the pictorial form which is visible to all is the best way of communicating it across to all. So tell a story, because stories bring things to the life and they helps to make strategies feel real. So you should be able to create and narrate stories behind those strategy. People connect with the stories better than the fact and figure, and ask others to share their stories as well, right? So how and why the strategy has been put up across in place. So there has to be a appealing story behind it. So obviously use multiple channels. So as we said today, communication channels expand well beyond the emails. So we should think of having multiple channels to take advantage of it, right? So there are ways, inter-organizational social media platform which can be used. So Yammer can be one of the important platform by which you can communicate your strategy. There can be other platforms where you can share your strategy, and obviously think outside the box, get creative, embrace the unexpected. Where could you post your visuals, right? So we should always think that how we can make sure your strategy is visible to all the stakeholders, to everyone, so that there is a better acceptability for it, right? So you can always refer to all these 8 ways of communicating your strategy more effectively as per the Harvard Business Review. So you can always go through this article in detail at later point in time.